This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
This is Monte Mohr with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and this is Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team. And welcome back. It's Sunday evening.
Welcome back and happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you too.
Look how diligent you are working on Easter. That's how committed we are to our listeners. That's pretty amazing.
It is. Well, it's, a commitment we've made every Sunday evening here at 5 p.m.
That's right. And not only you and I, Carey Ann, as you know, but we've got a special guest here today. I'm excited to introduce Mr. Preston Rowland. Good evening, Preston.
Hello, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We've been talking about having some other folks in the real estate community, and Preston's one of my absolute favorite realtors out there. He happens to work in the same organization I do, and I'm grateful for that. So grateful. But we wanted to talk about some awesome topics today that he's a specialist in.
Yes, he is. I've had the pleasure now of working with Preston, I think over 3 years, and you are just a rock star in my book. So
thank you for saying that.
Yes, absolutely. He's one that not only does he take really good care of the client, but he's awesome at the backside, which is the paperwork. He's organized, he's diligent, he understands what it means to close something on time, which I appreciate.
Not long ago, and this is unusual with real estate folks, and certainly in my world, but not long ago didn't you win the most organized files for the month or something like that? No,
I did, and I had forgotten about that actually, and that was after several months of complaining about the whole system that we use, and then I get that award. So it's a surprise.
You're awesome at it in so many ways, and we're just talking also that it's hard to believe you've only been a licensee for 3 years, Preston. I still learn things from you, and that's some of the things we're going to talk about. Some things that you do a little differently that even a senior agent can learn from.
Well, yeah, and I owe a lot of my career, excellence to you, because I try to be like you on most days, and so I guess we've learned from each other. But
Absolutely.
When you got two high caliber folks that are looking out for you, like these two, where can you go wrong, right?
I'd like to think that'd be a good thing, huh, Carey?
Well, you're just very, very kind. And one thing that we're so passionate about is just helping the client, and you'll help anybody that is in need, whether they're looking to purchase their first house or a luxury home. And that's what I just love about you. So it's one that, you lead with your heart and really, help your clients. So,
well, and that's very true. And I think you experience the same thing in your business, where you put kind of everything aside and
Sure.
you focus on the meat and potatoes of what's going on, and leave the personalities at the door and get the deal done.
And you've got some spunk and some grit in you too, which I love, because you're going to fight for your client,
Always.
all the way to the end, which I can appreciate.
Carey Ann, it wasn't until, I don't know, what was it, a year ago or something, that Mr. Rowland really put your love for him to the test when he said, we've got to close this in, 8 days or something like that?
Yes. What I love about Preston is if I tell him I could do something, he's going to test me on everything that I say. Yes. And so, which is good, because I'm able to I won't tell you anything that I can't stay true to. So,
And if she says, I'll get it done, it will be done.
yeah, it'll get done. So we did. And it was such an amazing lady, I think it was, and someone that was so deserving of a new home, and excited that we were able to pick up the pieces and help them to the finish line.
Well, it was
For sure.
an unusual case, because I had both sides of the deal.
Right.
I had the house listed. I had the buyer. The buyer had dealt with his or her bank for several, a few weeks.
Sure.
And we got to the last minute, and they couldn't get the deal done. So I handed it to Carey Ann, and she pulled it off and closed a VA loan in, I think, 8 days, which is a miracle within itself.
Sure.
really
And,
is.
some people will say, well, why one lender can't do it and then another lender can? Is it really, do you have a magic wand, or do you, twiddle your nose, or what's the true, story behind it? But, one thing that I do love about CMG is we are a direct lender, which means we follow the agency's guidelines. And so you'll find that some lenders do have overlays, and so that's why I love the company that I do work for. And it allows me the ability to approve many more families' loans, with the guidelines that the agencies, allow. So it wasn't like I do, poof, and you're approved and you're approved.
Well, and I know from experience, Carey Ann, you don't take no easily, and you just keep digging and keep searching, keep trying to make those things happen when they do look impossible. And sometimes they are impossible, but you don't roll over just with one or two no's. I love that about you.
Yes, I will give that to my mom. You never accept the first no, sometimes not the second and third. I moved here in the music industry, so she drilled that in my mind. You never give up until, if you believe in something truly, and if you feel as if this is a deserving client and you're very passionate about helping them find a solution to get that mortgage approved, you will go that extra mile for them. So I know Preston, yourself, and I are ones that follow that same.
Well, I know Preston and I, no offense to your first career, but we're really glad it didn't work out, because we wouldn't get to work with you on this second career.
But it seems like in maybe it's unique to your office, but you seem to have a way of taking the questions off the table early. So if you say, "Oh, this is good. It's going to close on closing day," you don't just say that because you want to make me happy. You've done the back room stuff to figure out that it's solid.
Sure. Yeah, I think my background, I was fortunate enough to come in on the bottom, side of the totem pole, right? And so I was the girl that was in operations and underwrote before, right? And so when I'm looking at the application, I am already thinking 2 steps ahead on what's actually needed. Just yesterday, I was working with a customer and I quickly reviewed the file, and I knew we were going to need a stack of items to make sure that was an approved deal. And what I love about some clients is they actually listen and go through that checklist, right? They send you everything on the checklist and bam, you're approved, right? And this client needed an equity line. They needed to pull out cash. They found their dream home that was a farm, but they had no, $13,000 to their name right now in liquid cash, but all of their all of their money was in all of the equity of both of the properties that they owned, right? Mm-hmm. But they needed an approval letter that day. But if people only piecemealed, or if I only asked 2 of the questions out of the 10 that I needed answered, that makes it a little bit more difficult. So taking the time to slow down, I always say slow down to speed up. Slow down, ask all the right questions, have the client understand what you actually need, have them provide the proper documentation up front, and it'll allow for an easier approval and a smoother closing for sure.
It's a reminder, though, for everybody listening that regardless of what lender you're using, if you're not using Carey Ann, even, make sure you fill all the blanks out. Make sure you get all the cards on the table. You're not going to hide something that's not going to come back.
Right. I mean, I'm dealing with a situation right now. I'm one that believes everything, why would I not assume you're not telling me the truth, right? And so we deal with that today in this day and age. I'm a little surprised about that. Mm-hmm. But tell me the whole story, because it is going to come out and someone is going to find out that information. If you say you're going to start your job on a specific date and we call and you're still in California but you told me you were in Tennessee, we need to make sure everything is legit. We all work so hard in this industry to do the everything the right way, right? I'm licensed, you're licensed. We want to follow through and work and go the extra mile for everybody who's giving us the right information on the front end.
And as competitive as we are and as eager that we are to serve people and help put things together, no transaction's worth our livelihood or license. So we want to always work with people when we can that are going to get those cards on the table. And sometimes you don't know anybody until you start working with them. But anyhow, encourage everybody to get the cards on the table as quickly as you can. I also want to encourage everybody to send those questions and keep sending the questions in at talkmusiccity.com. That's questions at talkmusiccity or hashtag talkmusiccity. And you can also see us where else, Carey Ann? A whole bunch of places. One of them is Facebook.
Yes, we have a great podcast. So if you're not able to listen to us for the full hour, you can come visit tomorrow on our Facebook page, the Talk of Music City Real Estate podcast on Facebook. You have a live viewing of us if you want to see what we look like in action.
That's right.
Behind the microphone. But we have a great podcast there, and you can check us out on iTunes as well. So
we've got some really neat, really great topics today. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Preston in here today, because he's expert at holding open houses. Over the years, when years ago, when my kids were little, they grew up with me doing an open house every Sunday.
Yes.
I can literally say I sat over 500 open houses.
Wow.
Okay? And during that time, I can also say that until recently, I had sold only 5 homes through open house. So most of us older agents like myself, been in the business a long time, said open houses are a waste of time. Until a few years ago, we had a whole paradigm shift, because then we realized, oh, wow, maybe open houses aren't such a waste of time, because back in the day, people were doing their research via open house, and now they're doing it online, which we're going to roll into here as soon as we get back.
Yeah. No, we're going to continue talking through this, but there's different types of open houses. Can you have an online open house?
No, you can't. You need to be there in person.
Be there in person. I love that. So what do you call your open houses?
Mega open houses.
Mega. With a capital
Mega.
M.
Yes. Like large. So, super large.
So there's an understanding that, you're going to have multiple people attend. That's why you're calling it mega?
Yeah, the goal is to make it an event, an event that people are excited about attending, an event that they, will feel welcome, an event that they'll see how professional of an effort that we're making on selling this home. The goal is to get a lot of people in that home, to get the excitement going, almost to create in some ways, maybe a bidding environment, maybe not really a bidding environment, because it's not always about the highest price. It is about putting your best foot forward, though, and I think that's one thing that effort helps create, doesn't it, Preston?
Well, yeah, it's several things, but I think it's the psychology of coming up to a house and you see that the driveway's full. I think I probably hold the record for the only one that's had the police called to their open house because we had so many people that they blocked the street.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Now that was an event.
It was crazy, and we ended up with 15 or 16 offers on that home. But you want to create some energy. You want to create excitement. You want people to be interested and curious. And when they come up and they see several people in the house and the energy's good, and maybe there's a good smell coming out of the kitchen because you've got a little something.
I think I hear you too. You bake some cookies or something?
Well, we do some different things,
I love it.
It's all about creating that image and that interest in the property, and you get good results from that.
Well, perfect. Hey, so thank you so much for tuning in here. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue the discussion on mega open houses. You're listening to the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team, and we are back. And we're going to be talking all things mega open house today. I'm really excited about it.
We have a special guest who's an expert. Before we get into that, though, let's talk about what special day is it again? It's Easter.
It is.
Happy Easter again to you guys.
Yes.
So did you do anything special today, Preston?
Slept in a little bit and ate some ham and had a discussion about whether they're dressed eggs or deviled eggs.
Oh.
So at your house, do you have dressed eggs or deviled eggs?
Oh, interesting. I grew up with deviled eggs.
Okay.
But I didn't.
On Easter? That seems kind of out of context.
I know, but I guess but I never heard them to be dressed. Is that what they call them?
We always have deviled eggs, and
aren't
some
they the same
old folks
thing,
in my family call them dressed eggs.
That seems like a nicer term.
It's kind of cool, isn't it? Because you dress them up with some mustard and, I don't know.
I love it.
Mayonnaise.
Not to tell you once, and because we're going off topic, but when I was pregnant with Aubrey for Halloween, I was a deviled egg. So my belly was the yolk, and I wore all white, and I had deviled eggs. It was kind of funny. Cool. Hey, but getting back, so I do have a child, and she's 6, so she loves this day because guess who comes to town on this day? The Easter Bunny.
The Easter Bunny.
And she is so smart. She's like, Mommy, you lock all the doors at night. So I'm really trying to think about how does the Easter Bunny get into this house? I mean, she's way too smart.
She's such a smart girl. She's
like, the Santa Claus, he comes down the chimney. Do you think the Easter Bunny comes down the chimney too? But, he's a bunny and that other, he's a person. She goes through it all. So it's really funny. But she loves to wake up to her Easter basket, which has only a little bit of candy in it because I know that I will eat all of the candy if there's more than so much in there. And I try to, she always gets another little bunny and all kinds of cute prizes and games and stuff to fun. And then we had a Easter egg hunt. And so it's so fun because I've been taking pictures of her and videotaping her all throughout the years. And so it used to start with 5, and I think last year was 50. So I think this year was like 100 eggs. But I mean, they're way too smart at this age, 6.
So my kids haven't been little for a long time. So what do you put in? What does a parent in today's world put in those Easter eggs?
Well, I really debated on that. I was thinking I would just leave them empty.
Well, that's no fun.
Because it's a lot of work to fill those eggs. Now, someone was smart enough you can purchase the eggs filled. This is intelligent. You got to pay a little extra money, but that was probably a great invention for some of us moms out there. So somebody
popped them open, dropped something in there, closed it back up, and you paid extra for that. Yes.
Hey, and that saves you a lot of time. It's all about, paying the dollar for saving the minute there.
That's right.
But yes, a little bit of candy here and there. So, just to show her that she is loved and she gets to eat that. But, I'm really going on no cavities. I'm trying to do the no cavity thing, and also not get used to my sweet tooth, which I enjoy a Skittle package here and there, more often than I should. So I'm hoping she doesn't pick up on that.
Isn't she a great mom?
I tell you, the best.
I mean, she's not just a good mortgage person, but she's a great mom too.
Well, I guess you follow the lead of who raised you, right? And so I had a great mom, and my mom would have Easter egg hunts all the way up until we were 18. I think I was 22, still hunting Easter eggs. And it turned from candy to money. And I was the oldest out of 4 kids, and there were some bruises there for sure. I mean, I was not going to let them. I think there was $100 once, in 40 eggs or something, right? And I was getting that $100. I needed to go buy a new dress or, go out to dinner with my friends. So I was going to make sure I got all that money. So we laugh now because now that we're in our 40s, to think back of how we were when we were kids. So yes, it's a great tradition. Love that. And that's one thing I love about Easter and all holidays is there's always some really good traditions that you
some
can
great memories
bring
too.
down. Yep, absolutely. So mega open houses.
So mega open houses started about the time, I guess, Preston came along working with us. The revelation, the paradigm shift took place where we realized, wow, open houses are no longer the bad thing to do. They're the good thing to do, especially if they're done correctly. Okay. And that's what that's why I wanted Preston to talk about this for a minute, about how do you do a mega open house correctly. It starts from the listing on, and everything is calculated. Everything is intentional. It's not just stick a sign out there and hope for the best. Is that right, Preston?
Well, it is. And I was just thinking about, when I first got in the business, nobody really told me how to have an open house. Mm-hmm. Sure. And so I just, took some signs and put them up and had a little sign-in sheet and made some brochures and said, I'm here. What do we do next?
Sure.
And it was fairly fruitless because, I didn't really know what I was doing. So I think through a process of doing and learning mm-hmm. and finding out what works, and then, of course, working with Monte, where we always step up our game and do a better job at pretty much everything we undertake.
Yeah.
And so, one of the revelations I had last year after we did a 2-day, Saturday and a Sunday mm-hmm. open house mm-hmm. and had dozens and dozens of people through this particular listing. It was exhausting, but
it was over 75 people there one day.
Wow!
But I got up. I got up that morning after we had worked all day on Saturday. On Sunday morning, I said, "I'm going to sell $1 million worth of business off of this open house today."
Okay.
And I thought, you know what? It's just going to happen.
Sure.
And it ended up being $1 million too.
Wow!
But,
cool.
I changed the way I thought about open houses, and yeah.
As more of an opportunity, to talk to more families, right?
Well, it's a way to meet folks.
Yeah.
It's a way to generate business, but it's also about helping that seller get the most that they can get for their
the
house.
most eyes on the property in one day.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so when you have that many people in a house at one time, they know that it's going to go for more probably than it's listed for, and so it's all about creating that fear of loss. Monte talks a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have your seller, you have that conversation that this is a big part, this is your value add, you have these mega open houses when you list with, your organization. Do you have any pushback from the seller? I don't want people in my house, strangers, et cetera. How does that work?
For sure. Somebody who hasn't had an open house for a while, maybe old way of thinking like myself, before this revelation, yes, there was pushback on it. I don't want people in my home. I don't want people going through my drawers or whatever, but you assure them that, that's not going to happen. We're going going to watch everything closely because we don't bring just one person into that home. We'll bring 2 or 3, typically, if it's a decent-sized home. But again, it's all
to manage the open house.
To manage the folks and be in every room and just keeping an eye on things and so forth. But it starts from the beginning. It starts with creating a window that's sometimes a little frustrating because we try to list a home a few days prior to that open house and not let anybody look at it for a few days until we can have that mega open house. And part of the reason for that is that because a few years back, again, when this was all being created, this whole technique, it was a young single mom with a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and her first question was, well, how do I keep my house neat? And I said, well, let's just not let anybody in it for a few days, and we'll have a big open house, and maybe hopefully it'll sell then. Well, it did, and I thought, well, maybe I'm onto something. And so that's one of the benefits. So if you were a client and you were pushing back saying, I don't want an open house money, I said, well, what if we could condense what would normally take 30 days to sell your home, and a lot of people in and out, and you playing Pop-Tart and having to get up, and the home is going to be shown from between 4 and 5, and you get there at 6 o'clock, you're having dinner, there's a knock on the door because they were running late and forgot to call you. This kind of stuff happens all the time, and a lot of times it's hard to prevent as a real estate professional. But wouldn't you rather just make it one day and sell it?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about doing. It's a huge, huge benefit because we not only can get so a lot of times way over asking price, but we can look at those offers and see which are the most sincere, which ones are coming from the best lenders. Believe it or not, I know it sounds crazy, but if I'm looking at a half a dozen offers on the table and I see there's an online lender, I won't mention any names, maybe even a local bank, no offense to any local banks, but I see somebody that's as well known in the industry as yourself, that person's already got, even if it's not the highest number, it's got an advantage in my mind because I know the likelihood of getting to the finish line is far greater because I've got, first of all, a smarter agent apparantly.
Sure.
And again, no offense to anybody, but I mean that sincerely. But I'm looking for I want to stress, it's not necessarily the highest number. It's the one most likely to get to the finish line.
Right,
okay?
Right. There's a lot of good information here. We've got so much more to cover, and I'm getting the flag that we are going to take a quick short break and listen to some of our commercials here. But when we come back, we're going to continue the discussion on mega open houses and, how you can maximize and get the best offer in maybe just one open house. So you've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, The Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann, and we're back. We are with Preston Rowland, and he is a real estate professional and a pro at mega open houses. He gets a lot of his business and helps a lot of family through mega open houses. So we're so happy to have you.
So, Carey Ann, before we get started on this continuation of this great topic as Preston, when you see him, do you think of realtor, or do you think realtor?
Did I just say that again?
Real estate professional.
I'm just asking.
I said real estate professional. I've learned my lesson there, Monty. I get around the tree.
I thought I was going to try to catch you
I
there.
get around the tree, yes.
Good job.
Do you
Good
call your
comeback.
doctor or doctor? I love it. Hey, yes, I've been, it's just me. I've accepted the one-eyed wonder who says realtor with another syllable. It's totally fine. I love that. Hey, so let's keep talking. We've got good information, and I know we only have 2 segments to go, but we were talking about these mega open houses being an event, right?
An event.
I love going to events. Events, are something that you just assume you're going to have fun at, right?
That's right. And most events you have to start planning early, right? So my open houses at least are started a good week ahead of time.
Wow. Yeah. So you're planning for, when this mega open house. And again, when you're referencing mega, you're assuming a lot of folks walking through.
You plan to have a house full of folks and a yard full of cars, and so that may mean that somebody's having to help you manage the traffic in the yard.
Right.
So that's something that we would think about.
Mm-hmm.
So the old way was to Sunday morning, go stick a sign in the front yard that says
Come
open
see
house
me.
on it,
Yeah.
and then take a book. Or maybe the Titans are playing or whatever. That was the old way of thinking about an open house.
Sure.
But, Preston and I, for instance, he's doing one next weekend for me, and we've been talking about this weeks in advance. That's how much intention we put into an open house. He, if it's a certain price point, he'll even bring his black Corvette to park it in the driveway, which is really cool. Because it looks, there's a reflection of what a cool house. It's got a black, new Corvette in the front yard.
Yeah. Does the car come with the house? Is the question.
It can for the right price, and I say that all the time for sure.
I love that.
But we go to that extreme. There's balloons. There's things cooking in the oven. There's just it's all intentional. I see. For so many reasons, and it's not just price. It's all those other things. So if we step back just a little bit, again, it's the planning when we list a house. This may sound crazy, but the other day I was at an appointment and I said, when do you want to sell? When do you want to be out of the house?
Sure.
Okay, let's back up 45 days on the closest Monday, because that's what day your house will sell if we've done our homework correctly.
Okay. So you're assuming the sale.
Assuming the sale on that Monday, so that means we're going to do the open house that Sunday before.
I got you. Okay.
That means we've got to get the photographer in there a week and a half before.
Sure.
So that we can get those and everything in place and all that advertising for, like I said, for days ahead of time, so we can drive all that traffic. And Preston, will tell us about a few of the other things. I know you're going to knock on doors and maybe boost some social media. What else?
Yeah, there's several things that we do to take advantage of the open house event, really, to create interest.
Sure.
And to drive traffic to the event, and that has to do with social media marketing. So we do a lot of Facebook marketing, Instagram, those kinds of things. But I think just to go back another step, before all this begins to happen, we have to start with a great product. So in order to have great pictures, the house needs to be straight.
Sure.
Things put away.
Right.
Delete. Delete.
Right. So get everything organized.
And so, simple is better when it comes to having folks through your house. And so get rid of the, 7 different piggy canisters that you think is real cute on your, countertop.
Oh.
So
don't talk about deer antlers, okay?
Yeah. So we would definitely talk about getting rid of deer antlers at your house.
Oh yeah. I'm not having an open house
because everybody don't love to have dead.
So you're trying to basically keep it neutral, is what you're saying,
right?
As neutral as you can.
You want to appeal to the masses,
sure.
And so we usually have an hour-long discussion, or at least I do with my clients before the photographer ever gets there. And then I'm going to be there the day the photographer's there, because I'm still going to be hiding things like paper towel holders and trash cans and things of that nature. So we get great photography so that we've got great images to use for our marketing
to attract, to get the buyers there. Right. Okay. And are you, for all those folks that are thinking about maybe having an open house, being a seller, I as one, are you confirming that these are not just average people, walking in off the street? Do we know that they're actually looking to buy? Like, who do you allow through the home?
Well, typically, you want to welcome folks into the house. I don't think I've ever had a scenario where someone was not welcome into the house. Okay. But do you
get their information?
Well, we do. We have a fairly sophisticated platform that folks are able to sign into, and that goes right into my lead management platform. And so I'm able to communicate with them usually before they even leave the open house. They're getting something from me.
Sure.
And so there's some things put in place.
So your sellers feel comfortable knowing that you at least have all the names that
came through the house. I pretty much know everybody that came through the house if they have given me the correct information.
Sure, right, yeah.
Yep. So one thing that we learned about a couple weeks ago when we did a mega open house training for the newer agents in our office is that there are sometimes, on occasion, you can talk your lender into a sizable amount of benefit. For instance, let's say there was a free appraisal or $1,000 off in closing costs.
Sure.
Okay, and in order for them to get that, you have to email it to them rather than hand it to them. So if you email it, then you get the correct information.
That's good. That's a great idea. Yeah.
And it gives you a way to reach back out to them on Monday or something.
Sure.
To say, hey, I'm going to send you your coupon for $1,000 off closing cost, for example,
Right.
or something of value that we would offer.
So I've cleaned up my house as a seller, right? I'm getting prepared for this mega open house that you that you reference. Am I removing some of the china, some of the valuables, refilling? What do you suggest to me as a seller
and that's
in preparation?
Great question. I usually talk to folks about putting things of value away, including prescriptions and things of that nature. I've gone into to host an open house, and there's all kinds of prescriptions just behind the kitchen cabinet, and so I'm going to put those away.
Okay.
We want guns put away. We want jewelry put away.
I see.
So
is it okay if I lock a specific closet door and put all of that in one
Absolutely.
particular?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's
a
really
great
good.
way to do all that.
So now you've got great pictures, right? So we're marketing now on social media. You referenced you're maybe doing some paid posts to get some more
Yeah, for
eyes
sure.
out there, right? And then you referenced door knocking.
Yeah, a lot of
What
times
is that
if
including?
the weather's good, it's a great opportunity to get a little exercise, meet the neighbors. You
Sure.
never know who's going to want to be selling in the next few months as well. So
It gives those neighbors a chance to pick their new neighbor as well.
Yeah.
A lot of times folks know somebody who'd like to live in their neighborhood if you're just given an opportunity to invite them in.
Mm-hmm. So, like, if I'm having a gathering, on a specific time, and in my area that I live in is a smaller neighborhood, right? So if there's 4 cars because it's small. So, are you connecting with, the HOA, or are you already referencing to people to know that you're going to have this mega open house, or do we just have it? How does that work?
yeah, I think ideally we would talk to the neighbors around you because they're going to see some traffic.
Right.
They may be inconvenienced for a bit.
Okay.
And so it's good to kind of set that up ahead of time so that they know there's extra traffic in the neighborhood.
And we learned that from Preston's, again, set the bar when he had the police show up because there was so many cars for that open house.
Yeah.
So you kind of just already give the pre-warning
Right.
that
And,
something could happen.
This house was on the main drag into the neighborhood.
Oh.
And so it basically kind of, because there was so much traffic, there was nowhere for folks to go, and it just kind of shut the neighborhood down.
So when it comes to the mega open house that you're referencing and having so many people on staff to, walk people through the home, are you guiding them? Do they have, free ability to just look at the house themselves? How does that work?
We're going to have people stationed in certain parts of the home, but people are free, encouraged to stroll around, to even sit down on the furniture because it is an emotional decision, and home looks different when you're in the sitting position. We have music going on. We have things in the oven cooking, making it smell good. You got to get all the senses going.
Right.
But we do try to make sure that we do get their information as they come in.
Yeah, that is good. Do you find that some people are writing offers right there and then?
It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
It can happen.
Yeah?
It's not uncommon for us to have multiple offers before we even get to that point. And then we tell everybody, of course, you have until Monday at 5 o'clock to get your highest and best offer. Again, one of the benefits of that is it chases out those that aren't serious. It helps us refine those efforts to people that are putting their best foot forward. They've got a better attitude. They're not playing games. They're usually not asking for closing costs to be covered. They're serious about buying because they see that, again, Preston mentioned it briefly. The major force out there so often is the fear of loss. It's the greatest motivating factor that we can ever generate.
I never like to lose.
That's
Never.
That's the environment we're creating when we do all this intentional delay and these great photos and this setting everything right and not letting anybody see the home until we do this big fanfare of an open house. And 9 times out of 10, it works. We end up getting more for the house than it might have sold in other ways.
So it sounds like it's worth the time and effort that the seller has to put into place to allow for that, right?
It absolutely is. One of the key things we really touched on that. Again, you can't set the price of the home over what it should be and expect that kind of a crowd.
Okay.
You've got to be on the conservative side because you can't create a fear of loss if the people don't perceive value in that what price points you put it at.
If we do our job right, we will create the value and we'll get the price.
Yeah.
The offers up. But if you try to go in too high, the folks are not going to show up to even create that urgency.
We're going to get the people there, but they're not going to have the value of that experience isn't going to be nearly as good as if the value's not there. If the value is there, that helps feed that kind of not frenzy, but it feeds that energy. I guess that's what I'm looking for.
Well, it sounds like some of our listeners out there probably will be calling their agents and talking about, how can I too have a mega open house so I can get my house sold in a quicker fashion, right?
And if there, in all sincerity, if there are some folks that ends up happening, or there's some agents just curious about it, please feel free to reach out to us. I mean,
sure.
we open up all of our trainings to all agents in Middle Tennessee. Carey Ann, I don't know if you know that or not, but it's not just our office that are welcome to come to our trainings. It's all agents in Middle Tennessee. We want to help everybody.
Well, that's so nice. You're always so giving.
Well, we're doing it at your place.
Oh, so I'm giving.
Right.
What else did I sign up for?
Because we've outgrown our training facility.
I love it.
And we love yours. And
I love it. Well, it's there, and I'm happy to provide the space and the lunch and the drinks. What else do I provide? It's always I love
usually a giveaway, right?
Yeah, and the giveaway. Yeah, I love the real estate community, and for us to be able to share more and educate more and motivate more is exciting. To me for sure. So. We're just learning so much about the Mega Open House, and we've got more to talk about here. You've been listening to the Talk of Music City.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
Monte Mohr here with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and Carey Ann with CMG Financial and My Mortgage Team.
And our super special guest, Mr. Preston Rowland. Good to see you, Preston. So glad you could be with us today.
Glad to be here.
Good topics about mega open houses. While you're here, I'd love to see what your opinion is of this term called iBuyer that we're hearing so much across the country about. These investment groups are putting together folks that are buying homes, paying cash, and flipping them. And a lot of folks, it seems like, think that's a great idea because I think it's human nature that we'd all like to hit an easy button when we're given the choice. Especially when there's not a price tag on that easy button and we find out after the fact that, wow, that easy button to sell that home through an iBuyer might have been way more than what I should have spent.
Yeah, they make it look real easy, and they have great marketing material. That's the one thing I've noticed is that, their ads are attractive. They spend a fortune to make that phone ring so you feel like, oh gosh, this is the easiest thing I can do,
right.
And they'll buy my house, and
they're just going to write a check for it.
I don't have to show it. I don't have to do anything. I'll just walk out and. It's just not really that simple.
It's not, and yes, they do write a check for it, but so does the bank when we sell it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, the experience that I think we had not long ago, some folks thought that was, I guess they were intrigued by the marketing. They made the call. They got an offer on their house. The offer, I think, was maybe even an inflated offer over what the value may be, but then by the time they got through all the inspections and all the fees and the associated costs, they were going to be negative about $20,000 over what we could have got them for the house on the open market, because ultimately there's no substitute for the open market if you're trying to sell a house.
There's not. They're going to pay again. It's kind of a smoke and mirrors, to be honest with you. We had a listing not long ago for $99,000. They offered $87,000, and then they reduced their $11,500 carrying charge, and then they reduced it again by another 2 pages of inspection results, and they ended up getting about $265,000 for a home that should have sold for $300,000 because they found somebody who was in a painful spot with a divorce situation, and I see that happening over and over and over. They're really getting some traction here in Middle Tennessee because people are fearful, and I think that we can address that. What we just talked about with open houses, the mega open house, we can maximize, get it done in a day.
Right.
We come in and help stage the home. We come in and do a lot of the things for folks and take away all that unknown. And I think it's the fear of unknown is what's driving a lot of this whole iBuyer thing, I think.
Yeah, the stress, right? That I'm going to have to go through so much more work when I'm working with you, when that's not actually the case.
Right. And they think they're going to be running in and out, and that's what we talked about. Just one day of showings, most of the time, gets us to the finish line. And we end up getting more for the house with less hassle. They don't have to take the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 hit on the property. I mean, it's just amazing to me to see that many folks that are willing to bite the bullet on that just because they're fearful of the unknown.
Well, you're just talking about that marketing, right? I mean,
Sure.
you're at the beginning of the this segment here, we were talking about, your marketing,
Sure.
and really having strong, great marketing. The biggest thing with marketing is creating enough curiosity to turn heads, right? And so
sure.
if they're doing that, we can learn a little bit from them on that. And there's no reason why we can't do that as well with good marketing, but still get, top dollar for our homes.
Yeah,
Love that.
basically they, it looks shiny, but when you kind of peel back the layers
Sure.
and you see what you're really getting, I mean, ultimately, a wholesaler is still a wholesaler, no matter how nice their marketing material is.
Right. That's
and they're,
good.
and they're
Good point.
flipping the home, and the people fail to understand that, okay, if they're going to flip the home, they're going to have to buy it at a price that they can make it look new and make a profit in that, because they're not doing it for, and there's nothing wrong with making a profit on it, but what they're also not understanding, I don't think, are the consumers that are buying these homes is, in many, the cases I've seen, I'm only going to talk about what I know about.
Sure.
The updating of the home was not top notch. It wasn't even middle notch. It was by the lowest bidder, I'm sure, because it was really, really, really not great in every case I've ever shown the homes that now are owned by these iBuyers while they're flipping them.
On sale lipstick.
Yeah,
at Wall
Yeah,
Street.
for sure.
pretty much.
But that's not the case when they're buying the home from the seller and they bring in this list of repairs that is usually
Exactly.
way more things they're
That's
wanting
part of their
repaired,
profit, I think.
than if it went on the market and you had some legitimate buyer that said, well, I'm okay with fixing these three things and everything else I'll take care of later.
Well, like the one that I just mentioned, they end up paying $265 for the house. They end up selling it, I think, for $310. They might have put $10,000 in it, maybe on the modifications and updates and so forth. Mm-hmm. So they made a pretty big spread there off of somebody else's pain and stuff. Anyhow, I guess that's why, if I sound negative about this whole concept, I am, because I don't think the consumer that really thinks this through and has proper guidance from the real estate professionals here in Middle Tennessee that could get them top dollar without that kind of a loss. I don't think they're really thinking through the process and understanding that, hey, they're going to be lowballing me here, and this is all about numbers,
Margins.
Yeah, it's all about margins.
Wow. Yeah. But like you said, a little bit of work and a little bit of, I don't even want to say the word frustration, because I don't think it's so much that, at the end of the day, what causes the most frustration? Me not making the most money or most dollar on my home, I would think cause a lot more frustration, right?
It's got to be one of the top ones.
Right.
But I think it's that fear, I think is the biggest driving factor.
that you're not going to get.
The fear of the unknown, the fear of, well, I haven't had a home on the market for 10 years or whatever, and this sounds like a heck of a lot easier thing to do. Just let somebody come take it, and I don't have to deal with all this stuff. I think, again, that's as much as anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't, we want to take that fear, away and try to, get folks really understanding and making strong decisions, right? Interview both that party and maybe an agent, that is bringing value adds to the table, which one of them that you guys do so well that we've been talking about, the entire session here is, mega open houses.
Right.
Love that.
Right.
Yeah, if we can use that to generate interest, to get more money for our sellers, that's the ultimate goal.
Right. And I was asking you guys earlier about, what about that one person that could come in and scratch my brand new hardwood floor, or, so you were referencing, which I think is great, because I didn't know that you could ask them to do what?
Well, if you've got an agent that's looking out for your property,
right,
they're going to have booties for their folks to put on when they come in the house. So you can have a box of little blue booties, so they can either take their shoes off or they can put the booties on. I sold a house recently that nobody had ever walked on the hardwood floors in the whole life of this house, only in sock feet. So the expectation was pretty high that we made sure nobody was in the house with shoes on.
Well, I love that. I think you guys, what I'm hearing is you really go the extra mile to not only protect the seller, work really hard, make it an event, be intentional with everything that you're doing, really work to get as many eyes out there, so you guys can get top dollar for the home. I love that.
It's a plan. It works over and over and over again. It's intentional. It came through years of trial and error. It came from years of not having the right attitude. on open houses. The facts of the matter now is where it used to be folks coming into an open house just to do their research and their due diligence. Now they're doing that online. So when they walk in the door, they're actually here to confirm that what they saw online is true, and is this home as nice as I thought it was? Because they already know about the schools, they already know where the shopping's at, they already know everything about the home. They're just here to confirm what they saw online. Mm-hmm. So it's a far greater form of value when it comes to marketing a home properly. Smart.
Love that. You guys are some of the best in town.
We've sold a bunch of them this way.
Sure.
So before we wind this up here in a minute, Carey Ann, I want to make sure that, well, first of all, Preston, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you. You're one of my favorite realtors in the whole wide world. If I wasn't licensed, I know you'd be one of the first calls I'd make. But I also want to shout out to other real estate professionals, Carey Ann, that are listening to this right now. I would like to bring in a real estate professional that maybe feels like they specialize in a particular category, that could bring value to the show.
Love it.
Our number one goal here is to simply take away the mystery from the real estate process and empower folks so that they know how to maximize their dollar and how they can really benefit by the real estate professional, and the real estate professional step up their game so they're actually bringing true value to the marketplace.
Love that. And if you're interested, reach out to us here at questions@talkmusiccity.com. It's just been so nice having you here, Preston, on this Easter Sunday evening. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. We talked all things mega open house. We hope you learned one great tip, and we will see you next week. You've been listening to the Talk of Music City Real Estate.